Now, if I could turn your attention to February 4th of 2020. You working on that day?
I was.
At some point, well, approximately 8:50 a.m. or so, who, if anyone, calls you on that day?
Lieutenant Gallagher.
And what, if anything, or where did he direct you to go during the course of that conversation?
Lieutenant Gallagher directed me to go back to 34 Fairview Road and meet with Chief Berkowitz as he had possibly discovered more evidence.
And in the time between January 29th and February 4th, had you gone back to 34 Fairview Road at any point?
No.
What, if anything, occurred in regards to the weather in between those days?
So the weather had, the temperatures had increased and there was some rain.
And increased, if you know, approximately how much?
I believe it made it up to the mid-40s.
So well above freezing, is that correct?
Correct.
And with regard to the snowfall that had come from the 28th and the 29th, what, if anything, just in general, had you, well, not in general, specifically to 34 Fairview Road, what, if anything, did you observe between the snow that you observed there on the 29th and the snow that you observed there on February 4th?
A lot of the snow had melted and a lot of the ground had been revealed.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview Road on February 4th, what, if anything, did you observe and where did you observe?
Chief Berkowitz brought my attention to a piece of red glass that was about 6 to 8 feet off the into the yard.
Now, before we get to that, as far as when you responded, who, if anyone else from your department, responded along with you?
Detective Tim Taylor.
And the pieces of plastic that you observed, where were they in relation to where you had observed or where you had been directed to that Mr. O'Keefe had been found on January 29th?
The glass was in the vicinity of where Mr. O'Keefe had been discovered.
Now, with respect to that pieces of plastic that you observed, what, if anything, did you do to memorialize where they were?
I photographed the piece of plastic as it sat.
And did you or anyone in your presence touch, manipulate, or move those pieces of plastic in any way?
No.
You recognize in those photographs?
I recognize this to be the piece of plastic that Chief Berkowitz had observed on that morning.
Those are the photographs that you took that morning as well, is that correct?
That's correct.
What's contained in those photographs, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed on February 4th, 2022?
Yes, it is.
And the Commonwealth seek to introduce and admit as the next to exhibit.
Okay. 20A is, you've testified, the photo of the berm that was included in the first version of your police report, which was P for identification, correct?
Yes.
That is the photo of the piece of taillight allegedly found at 34 Fairview that you have identified as Exhibit 42, correct?
Yes. I believe that's Exhibit 31. And it's a close-up of where Mr. O'Keefe was found. And you can see the very light pink spotting that we thought may be blood. And there was an object in the center as well, which we didn't know what it was at that time.
Subsequent, did you learn what that object was?
Yes.
What did you learn?
It was a broken clear cocktail glass. And the pink spot was frozen or coagulated blood. That's Exhibit 23. And it's basically showing that the scene was trampled by rescue workers, witnesses, et cetera, but you could still see the pink spotting in the area where Mr. O'Keefe was.
And the footprint that you observed, what footprints have you, so what areas around where Mr. O'Keefe's, where it was indicated to you that Mr. O'Keefe's body was, were those footprints located?
They were located between the street and where Mr. O'Keefe was found. That is Exhibit 24. and it's showing a westerly shot of the scene. That is Exhibit 20. That is the I believe it's called a 6-inch Cape Cod asphalt berm that separated the roadway from the property of 34 Fairview. And this is the long look to where Mr. O'Keefe was discovered. Again, that's a close-up of one of the exhibits we saw earlier. Again, you can see the spotting and the glass here. This is Exhibit 27, and it's some what we believed was frozen or coagulated blood spotting. It's me operating the leaf blower and at the scene where John O'Keefe was discovered.
And who is operating the leaf blower in these videos?
I am. See, it removes the snow. I was removing the snow layer by layer. And right here, you can see it exposing the cocktail glass. You're going to see red spots appear as I remove it layer by layer. These pink spots start to turn to be dark red spots. We were concerned with the weather destroying biological evidence at that time.
And so what, if anything, were you doing with regard?
We were trying to take the snow that had fallen over the blood, and we were trying to remove it to expose the blood.
And fair to say, as far as during this sort of removal process, how much of the snow were you able to sort of sift layer by layer with the leaf blower that you had?
We could control how much I wanted to sift. I did it I started out as gently as possible, and if it needed, more snow needed to be removed, I got a little more aggressive.
How far deep into the snow were you able to go with using that leaf blower in that manner?
We got almost to the ground, bare ground.
As far as sort of a surface area, like how much of that area where Mr. O'Keefe was found were you able to use the leaf blower on?
It was approximately a 6x6, 7x7 type area.
And from that area, what, if anything, in addition to the cocktail glass pieces that you already testified to and the red spots on the ground, what, if anything, else did you observe?
We didn't observe anything at that point.
Oh boy, I hope you're paying attention. I stuck my review of this at the end, so I didn't ruin it for any of you super detectives. But how about that leaf blower? It seems like they walked every detective from solo cop, good cop, and bad cop, which I also like to call Lieutenant Dan. They walked them all through where the body was, where the curb was, where the house was, so there was no question about where also this second piece of evidence, the taillight, was found later. And so I'm loving this. I cannot wait. I hope I'm watching live when they ask one of these derps whose footprint do they think is underneath the glass.